Welcome to Failing for You, where I'll fail so you don't have to, or even better yet, so you can too. Welcome back to another episode of Failing for You. It is me, your host, Jordan Yates. And for the first time ever, one of our new sponsors is coming on the pod. So hopefully, as you guys are listening to this, you just heard his quick ad and you already know him. It is the David Turner from Process and Automation Specialist. David, say hello in real time.
Hello in real time.
But real quick, before we get started, let's hear a quick message from our sponsors.
Hi there, I'm David Turner from Process and Automation Specialists. In our world, process improvement isn't just a phrase, it's the key to unlocking efficiency in your operations. With over 20 years of hands-on experience in the heart of manufacturing plants, I've walked in your shoes, worked alongside teams like yours, and understand the ins and outs of your daily challenges. My journey from the plant floor to leading process solutions means I know exactly what it takes to elevate your operations. Interested in transforming your process efficiency with a partner who's been there? Let's connect on LinkedIn. Don't wait for the future of automation. Let's create it. Process and Automation Specialists, engineering efficiency together.
Go ahead, push our buttons. Actually, you don't have to physically push our buttons at all. Here at Captron, we specialize in innovative capacitive sensor technologies, which means better ergonomics for your workplace. And unlike mechanical buttons that break or malfunction after repeated use, our sensors are rated for 100 million operations. Durability is the name of the game, and we're winning! And you can be too. Visit Captron at Automate 2024 in Chicago, Illinois on May 6th through 9th at booth 2886 or visit Captron.com. Captron. Install once, replace never.
You know what's funny is like anytime I've ever introduced a podcast guest, I'm like, say hello, everybody. They'll go, hello, everybody. I say hello in real time. You say hello in real time. Like it's always exactly what I say.
I think it came from a Full House episode that we all watched as kids, and it's like, oh, it just stuck with us.
It's something about the guests I picked that they all have the exact same humor. So. Guys, I'm excited to have David on because, we love people who have learned a lot, failed a lot. We love small business owners. We love, the tech community, manufacturing people. David just fits in a lot of the boxes of guests we typically have on. And the topic we had talked about before recording today is the concept of trying out a lot of different career paths and getting experience and being able to be okay with getting experience in ways that you didn't exactly expect. Because really, as much as we learn in school, you still need to try out certain job types to know what you like, what you don't like, and learn from there. So that's what we're going to talk about with David today. And I think he had sort of an anecdote at the beginning where we were just chatting about how he used to work in a restaurant and he tried a lot of things there. So before we get into all the world of technology, David, can you tell us about what it was like when you worked in that restaurant and the different things you tried out there?
Okay, absolutely. Actually, I went into an Applebee's. Everyone remembers those if they're still around. And I started out as an expediter, the one that puts all the meals together and gives it to the server, and then ultimately went to busing and serving. And then one day they had a need for a dishwasher, so I raised my hand and volunteered to wash dishes for the evening. So it's just really, really good to I just wanted to do everything. I just wanted to get exposure to that, get exposure to this, to see just to see what it's like. So I just had a really no, not necessarily fun time learning, but I learned how to interact with people. I learned how not to interact with people. So it was I don't know, it was good to kind of expose myself to all those, so that going through school I was able to do the same thing with other areas. Retail for one, I worked in retail. I worked in a pizza joint. So just trying to try out all the things. Just get exposure so that when I'm out there, I know what these people are going through. I think that was really, really key.
Absolutely. Actually, I worked at an Applebee's too when I was 16. It only lasted a month though because I had basically I didn't have my license yet, and so my mom had to drive me to work. But my mom and my stepdad went to bed really early, and so basically like I had to be done by 9 or I didn't have a ride. And I remember one night like my person that was supposed to relieve me from my shift didn't show up, and my mom called every 15 minutes, called my boss and was like, why is she still working? Why is she still working? And I'm like, oh my God, mom, you're embarrassing me. What are you doing? And I got in so much trouble. She's like, you know, you're not allowed to work past 9. And I was like, I'm 16. I can't tell my boss no. So it's my memory of Applebee's. But it's funny that you had the like actual want to try everything. Would you say you were more of a naturally inquisitive, I guess, teenager? Like, did you like going into new stuff?
I did. I really did. I broke a lot of stuff as a kid. Taking items apart, taking clocks apart. Causing fires. All the stuff you do as a kid when you're trying to learn how something works. So, yeah, naturally inquisitive for sure. So I think overall, that just kind of blossomed into learning about stuff with my hands to learning about roles and jobs people do just to learn more about what they go through on a daily basis. I mean, that's even now when I go to a sit down restaurant, I'm expecting, the 2-minute, 2-bite check back.
Yeah.
Why didn't they check on me?
Exactly. Yes. So you did engineering in school? Is that what your degree's in?
Yes, I got a degree in chemical engineering from Auburn.
Okay.
And then about 6 years after school, I went back to get my MBA. I did that part-time through Lehigh University up in Pennsylvania.
Very cool. So I guess at that point you were already well in your way of I like to try new things out. When you were doing your chemical engineering degree, did you have any internships or co-ops or like looks into the industry yet, or were you just doing school and regular jobs?
I actually got a job with Buckman Labs. They do chemical sales, specialty chemical sales, and I worked at 2 different paper mills and was able to do everything chemical related. So everything that was related to any process chemistries that were going on. Ultimately, while I was working with them, they'd gotten a bid to do all the chemicals inside of a facility that was doing recycled newsprint.
Interesting.
So it was everything on the boiler house, everything on the line, all the flocculants, all the de-inking chemicals, which are really interesting. All the reclaimers. I also worked in a coated board plant doing sampling on their biocides as well as their polymers to help organize the fibers together to make a good sheet. So I got to, as a teenager in college, I was inside a paper mill, a machine running and doing my sampling. And so I learned a lot of safety, learned a lot about safety during working at the paper mills because they are inherently unsafe areas. So it was great. But yeah, I got to see every aspect of a paper mill doing that role because of that's where they had all the chemicals are. You add chemicals on the front end on the boiler house. You add chemicals to break apart the wood chips. You add chemicals to kill all the biological agents inside of the inks. So it was great to be able to see that from start to finish on a chemistry side, just because I was able to also see it on the plant manufacturing side.
So David, through all these things that you did, was there a point when you were like, I'm figuring out what I like, I'm figuring out what I don't like, and did you kind of catalog these tasks that you're doing in your head as like, this goes into a bucket of things I'm interested in and this doesn't? Like, were you aware that you were like actively filtering through what you wanted to do?
Yes and no. So as I just had, that inkling and that curiosity to learn. So I wanted to go through, but ultimately, I learned what I was good at and what I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's, and that kind of drove, me into a comfort zone of doing roles where, this is comfortable to me. Let me do it. like some process improvement stuff, working on flows in pipes versus capital projects. Managing major capital projects was a pain, and I didn't like it. So I just kind of learned that what I was good at, and I kind of migrated that way throughout my roles. But ultimately, it kind of over time it was, well, how am I going to grow as a person if I don't go out and learn, and work on the things I'm bad at?
Yeah.
So that really, I got a job up in a plant in Pennsylvania. I did that for 5 years, and half of it was automation and ripping out old, thumb wheels and circular charts and putting in Honeywell DCS systems. But the other half of that was managing major capital projects. So by years 3 and 4, I was working on multi-million-dollar projects and having to manage those with the contractors and the installation. So I volunteered for that opportunity just because I knew I was bad at it. And a previous job, and I going through the MBA process, I learned that I have new tools in my tool, but I did a project management certificate for that, and I was like, well, now I have this tool that maybe I want to flex it. I want to work on it. I want to hone it. So I was like, I'll work on this packaging project. And going from there, it's like I was able to work on the things I was bad at. So I think from that standpoint, starting out, I knew what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, but it was more like I was good at stuff, so I migrated that direction. I was good at those tasks, those jobs, those opportunities, and just kind of left the harder stuff alone. But as you grow as a person, as you grow, you realize, well, if I really want to grow myself, I need to work on the tasks and the jobs and the opportunities that I'm bad at. So that's what I did. Was learning more, adding tools to my tool belt to be more successful as a individual one, but as as a career engineer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like as you got more experience in the things that you originally weren't as good at, did you like them more as you got better at them, or was it still not your cup of tea even once you mastered the skill?
I wouldn't say I mastered the skill. I just got better at it.
You're the best, David. Shut up.
But no, I'm not as scared to take on those roles. I mean, it's not a, oh, I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to. It's a more of a, well, let me hone some more. Let me get better at it. And so I can make it. And it's not that the project fails. It's just that it's harder on me to make it successful. So now being able to hone those skills, I'm able to make it easier on myself to run certain roles and certain opportunities.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I feel like pushing yourself and challenging yourself is definitely a muscle to keep up. And it's cool that you're aware of that, because I'm the same way in my personal life and my career of I like to try to make myself do at least one uncomfortable thing a week, whether it's trying out a workout class like Zumba. I hate dancing. I hate dancing. I have no rhythm, but like I'll go make myself do that, or a new Pilates class or something to where it's like I need to stay uncomfortable to continue to like grow, because if I don't continue to push myself outside of my comfort zone, then it is just so easy to stay comfy. And it's like, why would I do anything different? Why would I change? But like you said, there's the ability to, once you're in there, you can adjust, you can get better, and then decide if you like it or not. What other, I guess, experiences have you had of realizing that a job may be different in real life versus what you thought it was when you were coming out of school? Because I feel like being an engineer can be very different than what you think it's going to be. Maybe a lot more spreadsheets, maybe a lot more just admin work. But did you ever kind of have an experience where you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be, whether it's good or bad?
Well, I think, in school, it's all about the calculations and being able to produce good numbers. Getting out of school, it's more about writing good reports, but also being a salesman. You've got to sell your ideas every day. Oh, I think this is going to work. No, I know this is going to work, and here's the proof of it. It's a lot more confidence. Confidence that you need to find and build to be a better salesman, because we're all in sales.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all in sales. Whether it's actively trying to sell something to a client, or it's trying to sell your idea to your boss. We're all in sales, and I think that was the biggest aha I had coming from school to the real world is, we've got to be able to sell our ideas, because sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't, but regardless, we got to be able to sell it or accept that we're wrong. And accepting that is sometimes harder than it should be. But I do accept it, and that's just part of the nature. We're never always right, but when
Speak
we
for yourself,
are,
David.
you
I'm clearly right all the time. Everyone knows if they listen to my podcast. When do you feel like you develop that skill of learning to communicate and convey your ideas through, I guess, how you say sell? I would just see that as like communication in general. But when did you develop those soft skills?
I'm still developing them, honestly. It's I think my first job out of school, I was actually a lab technician, just because I graduated in the summer, and there were no engineering jobs in the area. So I worked for a carbon black plant and did lab tech for about 3 months before becoming a control supervisor. But during that time, I was able to, I actually worked alongside the operators, and they taught me everything they knew about the process. And that, I think that humbled me a lot.
Yeah.
And, being able to work around those guys, and recognize and learn from them that, as welcoming as they were, ultimately being able to communicate came out of that. It's not talking in a better than role. It's just communicating ideas. It's not being condescending. It's just communicating ideas. And in high school, I was a jerk, and I recognize that now. I was it's like one of those items, like all kids can be jerks from time to time. I was more one than I'd like to admit, but I think coming out of school, honestly, school helped a lot, because I was around people as smart as me, or smarter, really. My entire study group was much smarter than I was, which is why they were a great study group.
Engineering humbles you in a way you don't expect.
For sure. But being around guys who were welcoming to me and teaching me the ropes, and I learned a lot from those guys. And they, even after work, they would I was a young kid right out of school, and these guys have been working in the plants for the better part of a decade, and they were older with families, but they brought me under their wing, and just kind of mentored me through that whole transition from school to real life. So that really helped.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I guess it's nice when you come out of school and you get a good mentor. I feel like it could be hit or miss just depending on the situation. Or if some people just don't jive well with their mentors, and then they're like, oh, they're sexist or racist. Or sometimes it's just like, okay, you just like you didn't vibe well, So it's always lucky to get someone where it's like, okay, they're pretty decent and they're showing you things that you can learn from. But how many different jobs did you have from then till now where you also kind of got to experiment, seeing what you like, how you got to apply your degree? Like, what other sectors and spaces have you been in?
I've worked in oil and gas, off of refinery units, the sulfur recovery off of refinery units. Then I went to a food plant where we made emulsifiers. So it was AIB certified, but it wasn't like wash down every day kind of food grade plants. Then I went to specialty chemicals. That was part of specialty chemicals as well. Actually, when I designed chemical feed systems for 5 years, got a patent out of it. So a co-inventor of a patent. So that was never on my bucket list, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
and then went and worked at an animal feed additive company. So a lot of different roles and a lot of different opportunities to learn varying areas of engineering, from product design to process design.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of packaging and automation opportunities as well. So, ultimately five different areas after school where I got to learn and kind of grow.
Yeah, now that you're a business owner, though, you don't only do like your engineering expertise, but you have to do like the things that require running a business, like taxes and employment and stuff like that. What has that been like in your spirit of trying new things? How's that going?
Well, I have paid penalties and taxes on several occasions, mostly locality taxes. Like I threw everything into LegalZoom,
Mm-hmm.
and they go through QuickBooks, so everything's digital. I actually have to. I bought a bunch of checks to print off, and I've printed exactly 3 checks in the past year,
Yeah.
mostly to Kentucky State tax licensing. Um, so it's taxes are critical to staying out of hock with the government.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I was really blessed to have a great network of people locally here in Kentucky where I could start working and get immediate opportunities. And it's really grown from there. I'm traveling to other facilities, but right now it's really a networking time where everyone that I've gotten work through and opportunities to present with have been part of my network for the better part of a decade. People I know, people that worked with me in past business relationships where I was quite honestly on the other end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
I was buying from them. Now they're bringing me in saying, I have a client, you had this running well. Can you do this for my client?
Yeah.
And so I'll go out and I'll do all sorts of different aspects. I think really it's focusing on, process improvements and automation, just because I think that's really a niche market right now. There's, and I don't want to be an integrator per se,
Yeah.
but I want to help integrators because I think
Mm-hmm.
that we offer a service that can augment their talents. I don't really want to build panels, but we can design them.
Yeah.
But it takes a certain level of effort and capital that I've heard horror stories with the supply chain that
Ooh,
capital
yeah.
gets tied up with you're sitting on $100,000 panel waiting on a $10 part, and that's for the big boys to deal with. I'm here augmenting hours and time and services to improve processes.
Mm-hmm. So I guess then the question is, and answer this as honestly as you like, because it's your business, but would you say in this experimentation of the point in your life of doing things, of figuring out what you like and don't like, how your business has turned out, you probably found like a niche and you're like, okay, I know this could be profitable. How much do you like your day-to-day stuff, and what's some stuff that you wish you could add or take away? Like what's it been like being all of it?
Honestly, I enjoy it. I really enjoy running a business. Yes, my plate's piled higher than I can chew it down, but I think a big part of that is I've just now started saying no. Like no,
Yeah.
we can get to that in August.
Mm-hmm.
So I think understanding and balancing my time and my guys' times, so that we can provide a good service to the client, as well as it's being able to say no if there's something that's not in our skill set. Then saying no, because it doesn't make sense, because you're going to be paying us to learn a new skill set.
Yeah.
Let's augment what we have. Let's augment your client's needs to what you're missing, and we can fill those gaps. But I think that's a big part of it, is just kind of learning through those ways to say no. And I think that's probably having, and quite honestly, marketing. I'm learning, and I know I'm really bad at it. So So not right now. That's my skill honing is in marketing, learning about all the things with marketing, keyword searches, SEO,
Mm-hmm.
um, commercials, sponsorships, uh, networking events, trade shows. I've got my first trade show coming up ever,
Ooh,
that I'm
which
going to be
one?
an exhibitor at. That's the Assembly Show South.
Nice.
So I'll have a booth there. I'll be at Automate, but probably not with a booth because it's a national show, and I really want to kind of stay regional right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because then if you start getting customers that are far out, then that just becomes like a bit much sometimes. But that's really cool. I love to hear that people like what they're doing for their businesses. Sometimes, I see people that are just very fiscally minded and they like see something in the market where they know they can make money and then they're like, "Man, I actually really hate doing this, but I know it makes good money," kind of thing. But it's nice. You could always tell when somebody likes what they're doing. And I feel like every interaction I've had with you, like you just seem like you fit this role very well. But as we're, getting towards the end, I'm curious because, for the listeners, if they're wanting to kind of experiment with new things and find ways to kind of see what they like in a job and don't like and like want to get new experience, there's always that catch 22 of like, you have to have experience to have this job, but no one will give me experience. Do you have any pointers to them of how to go about that?
I think the best thing is to get your foot in the door. There was a role I had, but it took me 2 years to get. It was engineering manager role. I was hired on as an engineer, to work with the group. I had a great mentor at the time to become an engineering manager, but ultimately I had to do the job for about 2 years before they actually promoted me into it because they wanted to they wanted to see me do it. They
Yeah.
wanted proof that I could do it. So I was a lab manager for a while, and then I got into engineering manager. So I think a big part of it is just get your foot in the door somewhere. I wasn't an engineer starting out of school. I was a lab technician, but
Mm-hmm.
I was in that role. I learned even as a lab technician. There was stuff for me to learn. I wasn't going to be I wasn't going to not learn something.
Yeah, I'm too good for
So
this, like
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
an
So
engineer.
I'm an engineer now. No, there's always learning opportunities. So I think from that standpoint, eh, job skills are transferable across the board. All skills,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of where you start. It's just starting,
Yeah.
and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Like that's always tell people even with like making content or marketing, like just start. Like and someone like, okay, great. Well, where? Well, okay, if we can't do everything for you, you have to do something yourself. Like what you need
Mhm.
to do, find somewhere you want to work and say it's like Google, it's something really big, it's huge. Go find a startup that is a mini version of whatever you really want to do or where you want to be and get your foot in there. That's how I got my experience. I wanted to be a petroleum engineer. It was what I was going to school for. Like that was like do or die. I'm going to be that. So I come across, God, I don't even remember where I found the ad, like somewhere online. They needed a person to do like data entry at this tiny itsy bitsy oil and gas service company. I was literally answering phone calls and filling out spreadsheets. And then I was like, hey guys, I'm an engineer in training. I'm only like a sophomore, but I
Mhm.
actually know some stuff. And then, like, once you're in the industry, whether it be a technician or an admin person, then you know someone. Then you
Mhm.
have that technical experience on your resume, and then you leverage it for your next role. And it's just like kind of once you're in, infiltrate, use the
Mhm.
resources, use the people around you, but get in somehow and then be bold and then you'll figure it out and one day you look back and be like, dang, you got all this experience, like I don't even know how that happened. And it's like you just got to be willing to put yourself out there. And like David said earlier, occasionally get your ideas shot down and be okay with it. It's
Mhm.
it's scary, but like what are you gonna do? Nothing. Like
Exactly. But you're absolutely right. You got to get in. Just get in and be bold.
yeah.
Don't be a jerk. I mean, 'cause that doesn't get us anywhere. but get in and you got and unfortunately, you know, this industry is still it's still networking. You got to know somebody, because regardless of anything, there's still risk for people putting their faith in you. So they need a comfort level, and that whether it's knowing them face to face, knowing your friends to vouch for you, knowing your parents to vouch for you, there's still a networking aspect to getting in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And then actually showing up and doing a good job, unlike the first time David hired me to help him with something, and then I promised something and then I messed it up, and then here we are working together still. So people can be forgiving and really nice. So have faith in your network. And guys, like you always say, if you want to reach out to me or David to talk with us more about it and our experience, we try to keep the episodes around 30 minutes because I know there's a drop off after that. So we're going to wrap up for today, but I'm going to put all of David's information in the description below, and it'll already be there because he's sponsoring this episode, but it'll be there doubly so you can reach out to him.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. David, is there anything else you want to say to the listeners before we wrap up today?
Enjoy sales, because regardless of what role you have, you're going to be a salesperson.
I hate that. I hate sales. No, that's really good advice, guys. Well, of course, thank you so much for listening to another episode. And as always, I'm your host, Jordan Yates. And in the meantime, I'll be failing for you. See you next time.